She likes me. Alright, come down now.
Alright, wait.
That's 100% what she's doing. She's taking pictures of it.
Yeah. Put it back.
The most exciting thing is the buffalo running through the parking lot.
Put the camera down and don't run.
Oh yeah!
Every year, millions of people visit America's wilderness to disconnect from the day-to-day, get some exercise, and take in the scenery. Many hope to catch a glimpse of the wildlife, and with so many visitors pouring into these remote parks, wildlife encounters happen daily. But if visitors aren't careful, they can turn deadly. So what animals should we be most concerned about in the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem?
I have these terrifying memories associated with moose.
I'm more intimidated and scared of bison and elk.
When a 400-pound bear is ripping you to pieces, it's really hard to stay quiet.
Yellowstone's full of things that want to kill you. Part of the reason why I like Yellowstone so much.
The Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem encompasses 20 million acres in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. It includes Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park. The parks are littered with signs warning visitors to beware of bears. One of those visitors was Shane Burke. While on his honeymoon, he and his wife visited Grand Teton National Park from Massachusetts.
From like the moment I saw the cub to when the mom connects with me was somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds.
The couple had separated so he could photograph some wildlife while his wife Chloe sat in the car to plan the day. An hour into his hike, Shane saw the last animal he had hoped to see.
Oh no, that's a grizzly cub. And so I just looked down, grabbed my bear spray out of my harness, and I looked down to take the safety off, and I looked up, and the mom was somewhere between like 10 and 20 feet away, and she was just sprinting directly for me. We locked eyes, and I was just like, all right, this is gonna hurt really bad. She closed that gap, you know, and all of this happened from like the moment I saw the cub to when the mom connects with me was somewhere between 3 and 5 seconds. When I did get the safety off, she basically was like right there in my face. It was just like getting hit by a linebacker. At this point, I'm laying down on the ground with my hands behind my neck like this. I just remember like, just shut up, you idiot. Just don't move, don't say anything. Just sit here and take it. When a 400-pound bear is ripping you to pieces, it's really hard to stay quiet. All of a sudden, oh my God, this hurts really bad. And I just screamed really, really abruptly, and she just dropped me. So she goes to bite me, but because I had my hands behind my head like this, unbeknownst to me, I still had the bear spray in my hand.
When the bear bit him, he felt warm liquid on his neck. He thought it was blood, but it was the bear spray which saved his life.
Instantly, she just started running away. It took me a couple milliseconds to realize, like, whoa, dude, you're still alive. Because my initial thought was like, oh, she just bit your skull and like, you're done for sure. And I heard her running away, and I looked up and, all right, I'm gonna run the opposite direction. So I was running up the hill, back up Signal Mountain, and I kind of like, that was the first time I really assessed myself for a second. I looked down and I saw the condition my right hand was in, and I was like, whoa, that's terrifying. Suddenly I had cell service. I called my wife. This call was essentially for me to just say goodbye. She's an EMT. She kind of pulled me out of that like pity party I was throwing for myself, and realized that I actually could probably survive this if I just try hard enough.
Chloe called 911 while Shane made tourniquets out of straps from his equipment. An emergency helicopter picked him up and he went to the hospital. Shane had 5 bites and a broken shoulder. It took 62 staples to put him back together. Looking back, he wishes he had more practice using the bear spray.
In the military, we practice all of our drills over and over and over again. So I should have known better. And I have no anger towards the bear whatsoever. Like, this was a total freak accident, surprise encounter, very unfortunate circumstance for me. grateful that the bear got to live and there was no repercussions for her.
His reaction was actually great. He did all the right things. He laid on his front to protect his vitals. He had his bear spray. Unfortunately, with bear attacks, sometimes it happens so fast you just don't have time to take out the bear spray. The mama bear got very defensive because he was too close to the bears and unfortunately got attacked. He was very lucky.
While most people think of bears as the most dangerous animal, others are just as dangerous, if not more.
I have these terrifying memories associated with moose.
Katie Ritter worked the Aquatic Invasive Species Program in Yellowstone. She had a scary encounter with a moose in 2018 when she and her dad went hiking in Grand Teton National Park.
I was looking down at my feet because it's a rocky trail, and I felt my dad grab my backpack and pull me backwards a step. And I looked up to ask him what was going on, and about 10, 15 feet in front of me, I see this huge bull moose pick his head up from the tree that he was eating off of. And I'll never forget the look that he gave me. Like, what are you doing interrupting my lunch? He did that kind of snorting noise, and he pawed the ground with his front hoof, and then he started coming towards us. I was like, uh-oh, that's not good. We turned and ran to get out of his space, and then the moose came around the corner after us, and it chased us a little bit up the trail. Once it seemed to realize that we were getting out of its space, it stopped chasing us and wandered off the trail. And the craziest thing was, it took this huge, full-grown bull moose, antlers and everything, took about 5 steps off the trail into the bushes, couldn't see it anymore. It was just gone. That was the only time in my life when I was genuinely afraid for my life, was when that moose was chasing us, because I know from my studies and from travel how dangerous they can be. People have this big fear of bears, but I think, especially after that, moose intimidate me more than bears.
A lot of people feel that herbivores are not dangerous because they don't eat meat, right? But herbivores are actually some of the more dangerous animals because they have evolved to protect themselves against carnivores, and they can kill carnivores if they need to survive.
While visitors to Yellowstone may not always see a moose or a bear, many often see herds of bison.
I'm more intimidated and scared of bison and elk, just because there's so many more of them and they tend to be in areas where I'm at a lot.
Kyle Vetter is a wildlife technician with bear management in Yellowstone National Park.
The big males are sometimes over 2,000 pounds. It only takes them about 2 steps and they're hitting 35 miles an hour. They can jump 6 feet in the air.
According to the National Park Service, bison have injured more people in Yellowstone than any other animal. Elizabeth Power worked as a wrangler and led guests on horseback in the Yellowstone Pleasant Valley area. She made sure they rode safely, including protecting guests from wildlife.
Bison are one of the reasons why they are so dangerous is because they are unpredictable. The reason why bison charge is because they have poor eyesight. And so if something of an object or person or another animal comes really close to them, they have a hard time. They can't tell what it is.
It can be deceiving because they look sleepy and slow. And they are sleepy and slow until they're not. And the people that are gored and hit are following them with their cameras. People I've seen that try and run from bison tend to trip and fall over like it's a horror movie. And we're just not at their level to try and get away from them quickly enough.
I set out to find the most dangerous animal in the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. And after talking to so many professionals, there's one animal above the rest with a much greater kill count.
The most dangerous animal in Yellowstone we always joked about is the Rocky Mountain tourist.
Bears have killed 8 people in Yellowstone over the last 152 years. Meanwhile, people have killed 1,030 bears in Yellowstone's ecosystem. One recent case was the death of 28-year-old grizzly 399, the queen of the Tetons. A car struck her on October 22nd on a highway in western Wyoming. She was the oldest known reproducing female in the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem. She has helped grow the grizzly population from 100 to 1,000, with 18 documented cubs of her own. On average, 3 grizzlies are killed in car crashes in the Greater Yellowstone ecosystem every year. This year, she is just one of 65 bears killed by human conflict, according to a database tracking grizzly deaths in the Yellowstone region. This is the highest number of grizzly deaths from human conflict since 2018. If you've visited Yellowstone or the Tetons, you've probably seen the lines of cars at animal sightings. And that's part of the problem. The National Park Service says the greatest challenge with roadside wildlife viewing is not managing the bears, it's managing the people.
I do give grace because they're really excited, but it also you have to be aware of your surroundings.
When you combine a tourist and a moron, you get a Toron.
Kyle Moon is a naturalist guide and photography instructor with Yellowstone Wild. He is with wildlife and tourists every day.
It's either they're uneducated, they don't know what they're doing, or clearly don't care. One is getting way too close to wildlife. They see other people do these things and they just think it's okay. That's not okay.
There's people that for some reason when you go to a national park forget even the laws of the road.
You can't just stop in the middle of the road. Yeah, there's something cool there, but you know what? We just pull over. I hit a wildlife jam. As I'm driving, I saw it. It was a subadult grizzly. Knowing kind of those rules, like 100 yards from bears, predators, things like that, I pulled over, I put my phone scope up to my spotting scope and was able to get this footage. Now behind there was just all these people. This bear kept going up and down the bank, looking up, trying to figure out where can I go. There was just so many people lined along the edges that it was uncomfortable kind of moving forward. It's possible if something was to happen to that bear and it would have a natural reaction and maybe have a human confrontation, maybe they euthanize that bear. The other thing that people don't realize is you may affect that bear, which may not directly affect you, but then it spooks off and it goes and attacks this other person over here.
40 to 50 bears are euthanized in Yellowstone every year from bad encounters with humans. But some are lucky enough to come here, the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center.
My name is Tut Fuentevilla, and I am the curator of the education department at the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center. Our focus is on native predators, and especially the big charismatic ones, grizzly bears and gray wolves. For the bears, they're all bears that were wild bears that got into trouble with people, and wildlife managers ended up having to intervene in situations where maybe they were hanging out in a neighborhood or going through a campground. And unfortunately, that behavior clearly poses a threat to human safety. In those situations, wildlife managers are not going to have any option except to euthanize the bear. So coming to a facility like this is an alternative. But our goal is to use the stories of those animals to help people understand how to make sure that happens less. They're never thinking this is the bear's fault. In almost every case, this is something that people, sometimes accidentally and sometimes on purpose, taught the bear to do by giving it access to food.
And it's not that people are bad. Some try to help, but even this can backfire.
Last year we had someone, they thought that this bison calf was injured or stuck or whatever the case it was, and they proceeded to go lift it up and help it. Well, again, this is people not knowing animal behavior. Mom sees that there was this human interfering with her baby. She abandoned her baby. Okay, then they had to euthanize that calf. That calf got killed because of that human interaction.
Even humanizing the animals causes more problems.
So the park doesn't name bears. We don't like to give them names because it can start to kind of put human emotions onto them. A lot of people will see these bears, and a lot of our photographers and regular visitors kind of call them cutesy names. People will start misunderstanding them as, well, they're used to people, they're this close to the road, surely it's friendly, but they're still a wild animal and can potentially harm you or your pets and things like that. And then on the opposite end, a lot of people come into Yellowstone just deathly afraid of bears, and that's not the case either. The extremes of people's feelings and beliefs on these animals can both potentially be detrimental to the animal. If we tell people that grizzly bears are too much like people with cubs and families and things like that, it's not accurate. And the same thing with labeling them as deadly killing machines.
Here's what we can do to protect ourselves and the animals.
As long as you're following bear safety recommendations and park rules and regulations, you're very unlikely to have those kind of interactions. And the big thing is just make a lot of noise as you're hiking, especially if you're coming up a hill, you don't know what's at the top. If it's really far away, enjoy the sighting. It's a really cool thing to see bears in the wild. If a bear is coming towards you, a lot of times they might not see you. If it continues to come towards you, even after it's obviously seen you, and that's when you want you and your friends that you're hiking with to get together, make yourselves look big. You've got your bear spray out ready to use. You're also taking note of which way the wind is blowing. So when bear spray comes out, it's in a big wall, it's really a fine mist. And if the wind's blowing against you, you're just going to spray yourself in the face. If the bear does make contact with you and you weren't able to use your bear spray, that's when you want to play dead. Hopefully you have a backpack on. Even if it's not a very long hike, I still put a backpack on. It's just that much more between you and the bear. Cover all of your vital areas, your neck, your groin, your stomach. Usually a bear attack is like being hit by a vehicle. It's really sudden. If a bear isn't leaving you and it's starting to consume you, that's when you fight for your life. We do have some room for habituation, which just means that they're comfortable around people. We don't want them friendly or approaching people. Bears in Yellowstone, thankfully, don't see us for what we are, a very easy meal. They see us as a potential danger to them, and we want to keep it that way.
And when they feel threatened or when their space is invaded, they often will attack.
That's James Brower, the Regional Communications Manager for Idaho Fish and Game in the Upper Snake River.
When they hear us from a distance, they try to avoid us. So making your camp as clean as possible, storing stuff properly, hanging it in trees or putting it in bear-resistant containers or in your vehicle are all good ways to keep those unnatural food sources away from any sort of wildlife.
So the biggest thing with any animal and with people as well is looking at body language.
You can guesstimate, like, if they are going to charge, if they put their tail up, which means one of two things, charge or discharge. We hope for the latter.
This is Yellowstone. It's not a zoo. If something looks injured, the best thing you can do is report it. Don't touch it. Don't try to be a hero and put it in your own hands.
The biggest and the most important thing with wildlife is trying to keep that legally required distance away from them.
So what are the legally required distances?
If you see a bison, you should be at least 25 yards away. For a moose, you should be 50 yards away. For a bear, that's 100 yards.
Overall, tourists can still enjoy national parks while protecting the wildlife they came to see.
Give space to people, give space to wildlife, and space on the road.
The biggest thing is to just give them space and respect the potential danger that they can pose.
Respect them in their home because we are the visitors here.
Do your research, know your tools, know how to use them, and don't be afraid to go out there and do these things.
It's very important that we keep our wildlife wild, to not be afraid. There are millions of successfully completed trips in the woods every year.
You can be a success story too. To start planning your trip to a national park, go online to nps.gov.